Hello there, it's Carolyn, and I wanted to share a few of my favorite movements that I practice very regularly to just get my body flowing. So the first one I'm going to do is to sort of wake up the spine. All you're going to need for this is a hand towel of some kind, something that you can pull on. So begin by just taking your arms straight up over the head and pulling on the towel to give a nice big stretch into the shoulders and the spine. And then slowly taking the towel and your arms over to one side, giving a side body stretch, taking it over to the other side. As you come back up to the center, start to bring the arms back behind you, opening deeply through the chest. And then leave your arms pulling on the towel as you round your spine and bring everything forward, getting into a flexed spine. And then slowly bring the whole thing back up. One more time. Arms over to one side, straight arms as you stretch your side body. Back up to the top, over to the opposite side, stretching nice and long. Bring it back up, let the arms stay up overhead as you stretch your arms back, hopefully a little bit back behind the ears, and then pulling on your towel, pulling the chin into the chest, rounding the spine, coming into flexion, and then slowly bringing it all the way up. And then my favorite is to take it into a spiral. So creating a nice big circle with all those movements. Going in one direction just a few times, and then doing the same thing in the opposite direction. Feel free to bend your knees as much as you need to, straightening your arms as much as you can, and just slowly getting everything moving through the upper body. So you can just put your towel down, and the next one would be for the shoulders. These are called controlled articular rotation. So I'm bringing my arm forward, my thumb is pointing up, I'm going to take my fingers straight up to the ceiling, turn my palm so that I'm reaching as though I'm going to grab something in the car, back seat of the car, and then bring the arm down. And then I'm going with my shoulder internally rotated, palm facing up, just as high as I can go, and then I rotate back into external rotation and bring that arm all the way back. And just complete that a few more times. So straight up to the ceiling, reaching behind you, keeping the chest as much as you can facing forward. Rotate all the way around and bring it forward. I'm just going to do it 2 more times. Up, rolling it back, pulling it back through. And the last one, so just mindfully noticing that the thumb points up first, then the palm reaches back, and then we take it from the back, palm facing up, externally rotating as you bring the whole thing back up. You've got 2 sides, so doing it the opposite side. Up first, rolling it all the way back, taking it from the back and bringing it around to the front. 3 more times, forward, all the way back, from the back, rotating it and bringing it forward. Trying to keep the ribs nice and quiet, chest facing forward. So ideally we're working specifically with that shoulder joint and not utilizing the spine to make this happen. And complete the shoulders. Coming down onto the floor, setting up yourself with your hands and your knees, so your hands will be about shoulder width apart. Knees are also about hip width apart. And we're just going to circle the upper body around the hands. So your weight is going to be primarily in your hands. You could even take your feet off the ground, so that creates a little bit more of a load into your wrists. And go both directions. Circling all the way around, just awakening your fingers, your palms, your wrists, right up into the shoulders. And then gently rocking forward and back a few times, getting the shoulders and the hips moving. Just getting a little bit more mobility happening into the hips and happening into the shoulders. If it feels good for you, you can bend the elbows, get a little bit more, getting the triceps to awaken a little bit so the elbows bend, chest comes towards the floor. Just 2 more like that. Bending and stretching back, and we'll take 1 more. And then leaving your left hand on the floor, we'll take the right fingers, put them in the back of the ear, and then slowly rotate. So giving the upper back a little twist. Then take the elbow and bring it down towards the left wrist. And then do it again. Bring it back up, but this time see if you can get your elbow beyond your fingertips. Doing it one more time, open it up. This time see if you can get your elbow to come towards your left knee. And on the last one, take your elbow and see if you can go all the way past your hand, taking a nice deep stretch there. Take that same elbow, bring it up to the ceiling, and then start painting a little drawing on the ceiling with that elbow. So your body gets to kind of move with you as you move that elbow into different places. And then bring that down. I'll flip it around, and we'll do the other side. Right hand stays on the ground, left hand is coming behind my ear, gently opening into a rotation, and then the elbow comes down towards the wrist. Opening it back up, and this time I'm going to take my fingers and my elbows and see if I can get past my fingertips. As I open on this one, I'm going to try to get my elbow to come past my right knee all the way across. And on the last one, my elbow is going to go on the outside of my pinky finger. Maybe, maybe not. And then the elbow stays up, and I'm just kind of moving it around. So I'm creating some sort of circular or linear motion on the ceiling with my elbow, getting more reach through my side body. And that is that one. And then I'm going to go right into some lunges. So I'm on my knees. I'm going to step my left foot forward and just take a couple of tucks and tilts with my pelvis. I always like to make this motion. This helps to remind me also that as I move into my lunge, I'm in a posterior tilt with my right glute, my right side of my body, so that as I come forward into my lunge, I'm working deeply with my right glute, hamstring, so that I can really open up that right hip flexor. Coming back, I'm going to move my leg to a different position, but I'm going to keep my right hip tucked. So my toes are going to go in another direction as I reach forward and open that up. And I'm going to move my foot to some other direction. So there's no right or wrong where you put your foot, just move it into different places so that you can get different sensations happening in your right hip. Pulling it back right into the center, and then as you go deep into your lunge, place your hands down on the floor and then slowly rock it back and forth. Try to keep your belly and your ribs resting against your thigh, and so that your hands don't move. All that's moving are your hips moving back towards the heel, getting a nice big stretch into your hamstring. Take that foot, slide it back in, and we'll change sides. So stepping the right foot out this time, and again, it's a slight tuck of the tailbone under, bringing the pelvis back into an anterior tilt, forward and back, waking up the glute muscle and the hip flexor. As my pelvis stays in a slight tucked under position, I'm going to start to shift the weight into my front leg so I can give a good stretch into my left hip flexor. And then I want to explore different angles, so my foot will move onto one direction as I pull forward, moving into a different direction. So my toes are going with my knee so that everything is moving as a team. I might go a little further over. That'll challenge my balance a little bit. Back through the center, leaning into a nice deep lunge. Let the hands come down to the floor, and then we're going to shift the weight back. So your belly is resting against your thigh, your spine is nice and long, and you're just going to rock that forward and back, waking up the hamstring, pulling the toes towards your shin so that the hamstring muscle at the back of the leg gets a little bit awakened. And then coming up, take that right knee, bring it back to meet the left, and bring your hands back down onto the floor. Tuck your toes and pull yourself up. Come into a downward dog. Take your hands nice and wide and pedal out the feet for a second. I love downward dog, one of my faves.
And then slowly bring yourself forward into a plank position. So you'll get a bit of core here, and then slowly tap your knees down to the floor. Keeping your body in this like plank-like position, start to slowly drop your pelvis and lift your chest and take the whole thing into a cobra. So you get a nice spine extension, and then stay on your knees, flip over onto the tops of your feet, and then send your hips back into child's pose. Tuck your toes again, press your hands into the floor, press the balls of your feet into the floor, lift yourself all the way up, back into downward dog, and then again, take it forward into plank. The slower you go, the more effective this will be. Slowly tap your knees down to the floor. Use your core to control this movement, bringing yourself into a nice big extension in your spine. And then once again, flip over onto the tops of the feet, slide the hips back, take child's pose. We'll do it 2 more times. Tuck the tailbone, tuck the toes under, and then start to lift the tailbone up as you take it into downward dog. Find your way forward, holding strong through plank, keeping your head lifted, spine aligned, and then tapping the knees down, staying strong through your core, trying to feel the articulation of your spine, giving you permission to move into extension, and then placing the tops of the feet onto the floor, shifting it back for child's pose. And then on the last one, tuck the toes under, slide the hips back up, set the feet nice and wide, pedal out the heels, come forward into plank. If you can this time, you will not touch with your knees, but come right down from your toes until you make it to the floor. Push your hands into the floor. And this time it'll be more of an upward dog. Your knees can stay on the floor. Your knees can come off the floor. Shift it all the way back. Take your child's pose and rest. Take a couple of breaths. And that's my short practice that I hope you will enjoy as a way to just get the body going. Waking up the hamstrings, the glutes, the spine, getting the breath flowing. So just try and doing that for a few minutes every day can really keep things stimulated, keep the joints mobilized, the muscles strong, and have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Bye now.